I've always loved the work of Irish design icon Eileen Gray. I really love the modern, timeless aesthetic of her wooden screens, so I took my inspiration from them. Firstly, when I start to work out an idea, I always start with sketching, and then I move from sketching elements of the original object to making paper models. I really enjoy that part of the process because it helps me to realise very quickly the scale and proportion of the objects I'd like to make. I made my brooches through scoring and folding silver sheet and very precisely hand-cutting lines into them. This was really nerve-wracking because there was no room for error. I had to practice cutting straight lines over and over again until I was confident enough to start on the finished pieces. So it was really stressful, but then very satisfying when I could see the straight lines emerging. When I had the lines cut, the next step was to bend the pieces to the angles I needed for the brooches and then slot the two pieces together and secure them to the brackets at the back that I made for each brooch.
With these pieces, I really wanted to capture the beauty of vernacular architecture. To do this, I brought in opposing style brutalism as I thought it was a great counterpoint. I focused on thatched roofs as they're quite an iconic element to vernacular architecture, in particular the thatch edge. I thought it would be quite an interesting and challenging thing to try and recreate in metal. I experimented greatly with different applications of soldering and laser welding until I found a method that worked quite well. It was to create my own paste of hard solder that I would run on the ends specifically and then laser weld. I would also then crush them in a vise or with a hammer in order to get them to splay out at the ends. I then packed them into these brutalist shapes in order to encapsulate this one element.
I chose the lorgnettes for inspiration as I was interested in the construction and mechanisms used. I was also drawn to the aspect of a functional accessory and the way I could develop my skills in creating something so precise. I took the theatre glasses but ended up making more functional eyewear in a way to develop my future projects. In the process of making, I carved the top part of the eyepiece in wax first, so I was able to play around with proportions and scale, which helped me amend any errors.
The museum piece that I chose was this Japanese inlaid box. The style of marquetry that was used at the time was called hakone, pieced together to create detailed geometric designs. This is what drew me to the piece initially, the intricate detailed patterns. Even though they were laid flat, they somehow almost looked as though they were raised and textured, and in some cases almost fluid. This was the aspect that I really wanted to try and emulate. I made a set of 3 brooches. I was just playing with the idea of layering different linear patterns, and they immediately reminded me of fabric weaving. So I thought that I would try my hand at weaving metal, which proved to be really difficult because when you take 2 strands of metal and start to weave them, they have tension in them, so you actually can't stop. So I kind of had to come up with different ways then to give the illusion of something that was woven.